Hey guys, I've been wanting to put together a firearm safety video for families that have children in the house. First and foremost, you should always be storing your firearms so the children don't have easy access to it. A gun safe, gun cabinet, some locked device that will impede your children from getting curious and getting into your firearm cabinet. Teach your children. Teach your children about gun safety and to respect the firearms. Now, for children, if you ever see a firearm, immediately you leave the area, tell an adult. Tell an adult. But do not stay around the area and do not touch that firearm. Now, what I'm about to show you is if you had no choice and you're trying to see if the firearm is loaded, because you treat every firearm as if it was loaded, then I show you how to check and how to remove the magazine. But it's important to understand that not all firearms have the same mechanics. Some have physical safeties, some don't. Some have trigger safeties instead of a safety on the slide. So it's important to know just in case. Case in point, this is the Sig 229, 9mm. Now, it doesn't just go off. It will not just fire on its own. But I want to make sure that there's nothing inside this firearm. So, magazine, there's your release for your magazine right here. As soon as you depress it, you can pull out the magazine and make sure there's no bullets in the magazine. Once the magazine is out, there is a slide stop right here. So I'm going to pull back on my slide while pushing up on my slide stop, just to make sure that I can look down inside the barrel to make sure there's nothing in the barrel. Firearms do not go off on their own magically. There has to be a bullet on the inside. So if I had to see if there was a bullet inside, I can take the magazine out, hit my magazine release. Once the magazine is out, I can lock my slide to the rear to look down inside the barrel. And once again, don't play with firearms. They are dangerous and they can kill you. So respect the firearms and get educated on the firearms. With a revolver, showing if I want to see whether or not there's rounds in the cylinder, I can hit my cylinder release and depress my cylinder and look to see if there's any bullets inside the cylinder, which there are not. So with this, I can tell whether or not there's bullets inside the revolver or not. But I still want to keep it pointed in a safe direction just in case. No matter what, always keep it pointed in a safe direction. But once again, if you don't have to touch it, don't touch it. Even with the bullets, don't play with bullets because a bullet can still explode. So know your firearm safety, go take a class, get educated, teach your children to respect firearms, treat every firearm as if they're all loaded at all times. Get a gun safe, get a gun cabinet, hide the spare keys, get the electronic where you can use your fingers and have it read your fingerprints. You can do the depress the combination. You can use a key entry. Doesn't matter. There's different types out there and they're affordable. So lock up your firearms. Once again, not all firearms have a safety. So you need to teach your children to be safe around firearms, respect the firearms, always treat them as if they're loaded, and if they come across a firearm, to not touch it, to run away and call an adult or inform an adult where they saw the firearm, and they do not need to play with it, they do not need to pick it up. And if you go over to a friend's house and they start playing with a firearm, you need to leave and go tell your parents that they were playing with a firearm. Because it's stories that start off with, hey, I've got my dad's gun, that usually end in, sorry, but your son died because the gun went off. So be safe. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded, have proper storage, clean your firearms, but educate your children on the safeties, the do's and don'ts, and if you're not sure, take a class. There's plenty of NRA instructors that can teach classes where you live, no matter where you live, unless it's New York. So take a firearm safety class, have your children attend a firearm safety class. There's no shooting in the firearm safety class, it's all about firearm safety. So be safe. Lock up your guns and make sure you teach your children about the safety of firearms. This is the Sig Sauer P229. The magazine release is right here on the left hand side. When you depress that magazine release, you can remove the magazine and make sure there's no bullets in there. And here's your decock lever. There's the slide stop to pull back, lock it to the rear to check, see if there's any bullets in the chamber or inside. So if the pistol is closed, then you don't know if there's a bullet inside. And if the hammer's back, if the trigger can be depressed, the hammer can release, firing the bullet that's on the inside. Some pistols have a safety. If the magazine is not in, it will not fire. So this decock will release the hammer to make sure that it doesn't fire when it's released. So once again, you pull back on the slide to lock the slide to the rear. Just like that. Make sure there's no bullet. And you're the safety. There is no mechanical safety. This is the Sig Mosquito 22. This one has a physical safety, but you cannot rely on a mechanical safety all the time. Once again, magazine release is on the left. Depress the magazine release, pull out the magazine. Then to look to see if there's a bullet in there, pull it, lock it to the rear, lock your slide to the rear, making sure that the slide lock is pressed up while pulling back on the slide, and then look in the barrel to make sure there's no bullet. Nothing in the chamber, no bullet in the barrel. Once again, the decock will decock the hammer. Mechanical safety, putting it on safe, and it's both sides. Ambidextrous, both sides. So if they're going to check to see if there's a bullet in the barrel, pull back, but always keep it pointed in a safe direction. Check the barrel, make sure it's the proper way. This is a revolver. It's a Taurus 38 Special. You have your cylinder that'll hold the bullets, the hammer, cylinder release, and the trigger. So looking this way, you can see if there's any bullets inside. Now, the one port you cannot see in the cylinder is the one directly in front of the hammer. But as soon as that hammer is depressed, it moves the cylinder, which would move that one out of the way anyway. But you can also look in the back in between the cylinder and the frame and see if there's any bullets in there. But you always want to make sure that it is safe and that there's no bullets around it. So for your revolver, they can depress the cylinder release, push out the cylinder, and look to see if there's any bullets inside the cylinder. There are no bullets in the cylinder. That's with the revolver. Cylinder release is either going to be here or up here. And there is no safety on this revolver.